and all the different pieces. The only assessment that isn't very formal is the classroom training. The classroom training is really more about the team dynamics and working with each other and figuring out things. There's never, especially with scenarios, there's not always a single solution. Program administration, there's a number of different sides to that. You've got both technical, content, and learning administration. So technical is like the backside. We have a learning management system that we use. That's the platform on which we've mounted all of our web-based training. It's also the platform from which we manage all of our trainees. So that's what I call the learning administration. And then there's the content administration. So, you know, if something changes in your material, you need to be able to update that. And this is our web portal. So I don't really call this part of our training system, but it's the platform from which the staff all access their training. It's also the platform from which they can access all their procedures. They can access drawings. It's basically a one-stop shop for that facility for them to find whatever they need about the facility. Schedule and resources. Our project for the training and procedures side of things was basically started in July 2006 and went to December 2009. Resources, I can't stress enough, having adequate resources is critical, not just having a project manager, but you need to have your subject matter experts. Now I say the equivalent of 2+, that is not the same people. That's like probably, I would say, maybe 40 different people at various different stages throughout the project, but at any given time we needed about 2 people working on the project. And it could have been, I mean, I've written here, it says engineers, because, you know, when we were developing our new projects, you know, a lot of the knowledge was actually with our consultants. That's the knowledge that we needed to pull out and maintain in-house from them. Budget. Somebody asked a question earlier about budget. This is actually, we had already started our project when Jerry Stevens, who was with Earth Tech, who is now, the company is now AECOM, he gave a presentation at our section conference, and this was on one of his slides, and I just thought, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I was just so amazed because the filtration plant, the capital for the filtration plant itself was $300 million, so you'd expect somewhere between $750,000 to $2.25 million, based on his quote here of 0.25 to 7.75 of the total project cost. And we were right in that ballpark, actually at the low end, 0.33%. I mean, everybody kind of balked when they went, oh my God, $1 million. But you know what? It's a really important investment. And for us, it's paid off in spades as we went through commissioning of the plant. So, lessons learned. Plan, plan, plan. Include all your stakeholders in the scoping. We included our HR department. We included our IT department. You know, all of the operations staff are included, our maintenance staff, our quality control staff. I'd say do a gap analysis. You know, what are your needs? You know, not everybody needs the same stuff, obviously. Again, I got to go back to my notes, so I'm going to go over here, unless I already am. Budget and resources. You know, include your staff as early and as much as possible. That might mean, you know, for people that are doing this with an existing facility, that might mean a multi-year approach and a multi-phased approach. You know, you got to identify your subject matter experts. And I think, again, it was one of the gyms that said, the journey is as valuable as the destination. Absolutely. You want, huh? The journey is as valuable as the destination. While I was watching those, I wrote that down. I'm like, that's exactly right. There is so much buy-in that happens if your staff are not involved. They're not going to use it. Technical limitations. For us, we didn't incorporate video because we had bandwidth limitations, especially to some of our remote facilities, and so we did not incorporate video. We'd like to move towards that in the future with some of our stuff, and I was really excited to see some of the presentations at AWWA ACE last year on that. Do you have a platform? Do you have a learning management system platform? You know, our consultant has a custom platform. We could have bought an off-the-shelf one. They've got enough clients that we knew that was pretty much as sturdy as going with an off-the-shelf. So platform is important. And reference materials availability. As I mentioned earlier, you got to get your materials together and figure out, that's part of your gap analysis. What kind of materials do you have? What don't you have? Where are the gaps? So more lessons learned. Know your audience. So now this, I mean, you got to, really write this down. What is your base skill set? What's your base knowledge? And what's your target skills and your target knowledge? Now, they talked a lot earlier about competency assessments, or not assessments, but competency guidelines, and figuring that out for each of your staff. Now, we have a fairly flat structure, so we were looking really at the same competencies across the board for water. We're actually now looking at some of our other groups, and I think these competency documentation stuff is going to be really key for us. They've started to do it in our wastewater treatment plants, and we're moving towards that, and that's really around this knowing your audience and knowing what your target is. Considering different learning styles and needs, absolutely. Field training, very much related to tactile learners. Classroom, very much related to people that learn by talking. And web-based training, much more for people that learn by, watching things. And then, adding to that, your document management system. If they want to go and read the O&M manual, go for it. Make it accessible. Make it online. What are their IT skills? When we did the first learning system in 2000, some of our staff were really freaked out about it, and we didn't quite understand why. They'd never used a computer before. That's maybe somewhat rarer now, but I'm sure that it still happens. So think about those things. Think about access. Do your staff all have access to computers? For us, some of the field staff, they're just now starting to get maybe tablet PCs. You got to think about that when you're developing these systems. And again, a blended approach, I think, definitely a great way to go. At least for us, it's been quite successful. And document templates. Really, you got to think about that way up front. You don't want to hire a consultant or start doing something in-house, get all your staff committed, and then get them all involved in a document template process. Boring. So think about that. Of course, you got to involve them because you got to know what they need, but definitely think about that. Also, ongoing management. You got to do content management. You got to manage your documents, manage your program, and manage the software. Actually, I'm going to go back on that. This here is just a minutes of meeting from one of our Knowledge Systems Management Committee. Once the project is complete, the staff need to own it. They need to own they need to own parts of it. And the big part that they need to own and be a part of is the knowledge piece. So if something's not right, they need to have the work processes in place to be able to update that. Effectiveness measurement, somebody mentioned that in the audience actually earlier. Return on investment. Very difficult on this kind of stuff. Very, very, very difficult. We've implemented some pre-tests. And we actually don't call them tests. I just didn't have any space on here. We call them assessments or reviews, actually. And so what we do is for a random number of our trainees, before they actually do their training, we get them to do a pre-assessment so that we can say, okay, this is how you would have scored before you did the training. Now you do the training, and we can actually measure the difference in learning that our training program provided. Feedback on the learning tools. So we also do surveys, so similar to like when somebody goes to a class, afterwards, did you enjoy this? What did you like? What didn't you like? We do that kind of thing. We also do that on what did you think about the learning tools? Is field training working for you? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Results. So we talked about that. Consistent training for all employees, absolutely like gold. That way it's not all just in one person's head, and some people kind of have a leg up because they know more and this person doesn't. And minimized impact on our experienced staff during training, which was huge for us. Everybody's got, we all work for government, and you don't have unlimited staff, so you don't want to be drawing on your most experienced staff every time you've got turnover. Our training is documented. We've got a shortened time frame to train a new employee. Enhanced problem solving and communication skills, a lot of that is from the classroom. The staff are enabled to engage in innovation and optimization. And we're starting to apply this with some of our other business units. And it's interesting because they're saying, oh, they don't really need to understand all that stuff. We just tell them what valve to open and they do it. Well, that's not a very empowered staff. And I got a time, eh? Okay, I've got, I think, 3 more things, so it's good. Staff are enabled to engage in innovation and optimization. When they're trained well, they're enabled, they're going to be involved in that, they're going to be able to be a part of that, and they're going to be interested in it. And we've got a customized reference material library. Our training system, once you're complete the online learning, it's accessible to you at any time, basically as if it was a textbook. You can just go back and figure out, where exactly does that go? What does the inside of that tank look like?